everybody, my name is Mars. You can call me May or MG if you would like, and if you're watching this video the day that it goes out, it is 2 days before my 25th birthday. Woo, celebration! I just figured that this would be a good time to check in on the list that I made last year of 30 books that I want to read by the time I turn 30. Figure like a yearly check-in around my birthday would be pretty interesting. So yeah, let's just talk about it. So I have read 8 books that were on my list, and there's like a special half case that we will talk about at the end. But yeah, I am ahead of schedule because I made this list 6 years before my 30th birthday, and with 30 entries, that would mean 5 books a year, so I'm a little bit ahead, and I'm happy with that. And I enjoyed most of these books, so I'm doubly happy with it. So we're going to talk about the books that I read just in the arbitrary order that I originally listed them in. So the first one I read is Beowulf. This is a translated edition by E. Talbot Donaldson. I have read part of Beowulf before reading this list. Technically, I read the first third of it where Beowulf fights with Grendel, but I never finished it. And I believe that was the Seamus Heaney translation. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. It might have been Haney. I'm not sure. It was a different translation than the one that I have here, but this is the one that I own physically, so this is the one that I read, and I really enjoyed it. It did take a lot of mental power to get through because it's written in an older style, but I liked the story. I thought it was very interesting, and I would be up to read other translations of it. Next up is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and it's not this whole gigantic book. This is a bind-up of Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights, so Wuthering Heights is maybe the last 2/5 of it, a little bit less than half. But yeah, I really enjoyed Wuthering Heights. It's one of those books where you kind of hate every single character, but you enjoy hating them because they're all just terrible people. I don't know if other people enjoy reading books like that, but I definitely do. I also just really love gothic fiction, so I had a really fun time reading it. After that, we have Walden by Henry David Thoreau, which I actually read very recently, and then decided to get rid of my copy because I don't foresee myself ever reading it again in the future. It was fine. It was very, very dry and took me ages to get through because I kind of just dreading the writing style, but I did enjoy the vibes of it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm never gonna pick it back up, so I have unhauled my copy. In a similar fashion, we have Imaginations by William Carlos Williams. I have gotten rid of my copy of this because I've come to the conclusion that while I love William Carlos Williams as a poet, I don't like his prose work, so I didn't feel the need to keep this on my shelf. It was a bind-up of 4 different novellas. I will gladly pick up any poetry collections of his that I come across, but the prose just isn't for me. Then we have Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which I absolutely adored. I actually read all 3 books in the original Mistborn trilogy in one go. I vlogged it, which I will link in the description for you if you want to check that out. That was almost a year ago, because I think it was the end of November. But yeah, this was my favorite book in the trilogy. I still liked the other 2, just not nearly as much as this first one. I gave this a 10 out of 10. It was absolutely fantastic, and I for sure would pick up more of Brandon Sanderson's works in the future. Then we have the last of the books that I finished and did not like, and that is The Dark Hills Divide by Patrick Carman. I have once again unhauled my copy of this. It just didn't give me what I was hoping for. It was very disjointed, like none of the chapters really connected, and the plot was very, like, basic, but also not really even there. I don't know, I just wasn't having a great time. It was a children's book, and I'm like, if I didn't enjoy the first one, I'm probably not gonna enjoy the rest, and maybe a child would actually enjoy it, so I put it in a free little library. Someone else can own it. Then we have my only DNF of the books that I picked up this year, and that is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I thought I would love this. It's actually my one friend's like favorite book. They love it so much. I feel like I would have loved it if I read it in high school, but who I am now as a reader and as a person in general, it's just not for me. I read, I think, the first 2 chapters, and I just wasn't having a good time, so I'm like, I don't need to keep reading this. Then we come to Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and I read this February or March maybe, and I absolutely adored it. I had a great time reading this. I was hooked from page one. I'm not usually a fan of time travel plots, but it really worked in this case, and I can see why Octavia E. Butler is hailed as a master of her craft, because this was so well done, and I read it and I immediately said I would love to read more of her works, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but one day I will read more Octavia E. Butler because this was just fantastic. Then we have the behemoth that is Priory of the Orange Tree. Oh boy, this book is something. First of all, look at how thick this guy is, and I read it in not a very long time. Like, it was a very quick read for me because the writing style just kept me engaged. And this was actually the first members only vlog that I did. If you didn't know, I have memberships on Ko-fi. One of the perks is that my members get to pick a book from my TBR each month to get an exclusive reading vlog of, and this was the book that they picked for May, I want to say. And so I had a great time vlogging my experience reading it. I didn't love the main romance in it, which is weird because this is touted as like the sapphic dragon book, and I wasn't a huge fan of that sapphic element. I just thought that it was a little bit awkward and not well put together. I still adored this book and had a fantastic time reading it. And one of the characters, Nicholas, I love him so, so much. He's one of my favorite characters I've read in anything this year. And I will definitely be picking up the prequel Day of Fallen Night when I get around to it. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book. And then finally, we're just going to talk about that little half case that I brought up in the beginning of this video. I started reading Monster by Naoki Urasawa. This is a gothic manga. It's kind of like a classic manga in the community. And I read the first volume. I believe there's 8 volumes. And like I said, I read the first one, and I did really, really enjoy it. But it is dark, and it is dense, and I'm like, I can't read all of this in one go. So I will continue on and read the rest of the series. I just didn't do that yet. I started it, had a great time, and will continue. And once I finish it, I will completely check it off of this list. So you'll probably see it in maybe next year's update for this. Hopefully I finish it by this time next year. Because like I said, it is only 8 volumes, but yeah, that's that one. And there's my wrap up for my 30 by 30 25th birthday check-in. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.